The New York Jets have lost another game, a ugly defeat in the Superdome against the New Orleans Saints. And in a week where there was plenty of speculation about Aaron Glenn's job status, and while I do think he will be back, there was a lot more questions after today's game. Ugly on both sides of the ball. What players will be here long term? What players do I see this moving off of? And what does Aaron Glenn's future with this team long-term look like? All that and much more. And, of course, your Jets therapy coming up on this episode of Rich Sports Talk. Well, the New York Jets went down to New Orleans and got Cajun cooked today by the New Orleans Saints. A lot to talk about on this episode of Rich Sports Talk. And again, super chat to jump to the front of the line. Your comments, your reactions to this, let's just face it, butt kicking down in New Orleans. We have a lot to talk about. My thoughts on Aaron Glenn and this coaching staff, the outlook of this franchise, and especially what is the outlook over the next two games. Like I've said on a lot of this, especially during this last couple weeks when I do this post game, I'm really trying to look at the big picture because at this point in the season, that's what it is. And again, I know there will be a divided fan base today. Half the people will be thrilled because this will help with the draft position. Other people will be upset because this was a game where the Jets probably should have been more competitive. That's where I fall in line with, again, I understand that the Jets are playing with an undrafted quarterback. I understand this is a first-time defensive coordinator calling plays. I understand that the Jets don't have Garrett Wilson, their number one receiver, their number one tight end. But what really concerns me is this. Aaron Glenn this summer, I think, did something very foolish. And that is he basically gassed up this fan base saying, we're going to compete because we are going to coach these players up. Specifically, Will McDonald, we're going to coach them up. These guys have not been coached by the previous staff. And I sit there after this game today, and I've brought this up on this channel a couple of times, but I have this very serious thought, which is especially with the players that this staff did not bring in. And again, there are some nice little pieces, and I'll mention them later, but big picture, I look at this team and I go, what defensive players have improved? I understand that the comparison will be, well, Robert Saleh is not a good head coach, Robert Saleh's defense. But the one thing that concerns me is even with Robert Saleh's first year, I saw some potential. I saw some defensive players improve. And that's one thing I will always say about Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich. I saw the defensive players improve. But I look at this team, and especially when you hire a, quote, defensive-minded head coach, which, again, I didn't like a first-time defensive head coach. I was adamant about that. I wanted someone with head coaching experience. But when you have Aaron Glenn that's saying he's going to help out with the play calling this week, that he's going to coach these guys up, I look at this team and I go, Jermaine Johnson has regressed. Will McDonald has regressed. The only players that I've seen improvement from was Jamien Sherwood had a good game today. Maybe he fits better in this system with this play caller. Juwan Briggs, who again was a really nice pickup in a trade, but this team was not devoid of talent. And I look across the field today, and this is what really troubles me. I look at a coach in Kellen Moore, and I said I like that hire. And we came into this season saying, look, New Orleans is probably going to be one of the worst teams in the National Football League, just looking at that quarterback room. But you sit there today and you go, you know what? They might have something with Tyler Shuck. You know, they are coaching up that offense. You know, that offense, despite missing pieces, looks ready to go. They look schematically ready. And once again, the Jets don't schematically scare people. And this reminds me so much, and again, I hate uttering this phrase, but this reminds me so much of the Adam Gase period where I was sitting there watching Adam's team, and I basically kept going and saying to myself, what do they do better than the last regime? Where have they gotten better as a staff? And I sit here watching Aaron Glenn's staff, and I know the excuses, well, you know, we're going to be more disciplined. We're going to cut down the penalties. Penalties were a big issue again today. We're going to be a great defense, and we're going to be able to run the football. Jets only ran the ball for a little over 60 yards today. We're going to be a dominant the line of scrimmage. Jets again, 7 sacks. I put a lot that more on Brady Cook. And this is the bigger point. I think there's so much to talk about with the quarterbacks down the stretch. I think that there's so much to talk about with the next 2 games. But of all the games on this schedule, this was a game where I thought that the Jets could compete and at least be in this game. And I know Aaron Glenn's saying, well, I thought the team showed effort. I like the effort. Well, you know what? The problem, Aaron Glenn, is this. You told this fan base, and you want, again, I think some of the rumors, I don't believe Aaron Glenn will be a one-and-done coach. I know some people will comment that. But I will say this. He's going to be on a short leash year 2. Because when you say comments like this, Aaron Glenn said he never considered benching Brady Cook for Tyrod Taylor. This, again, when you have Brady Cook, an undrafted free agent, who is starting to get the tar being out of him because he's gotten sacked 7 times, and this is also a coach where he hasn't learned from earlier this year where you could have gone to Tyrod Taylor, and if the reason why you don't want to put Tyrod Taylor in is, well, because we're afraid he's going to get injured, well, then don't have him be the backup quarterback. If you were afraid to put him in to get hurt against the Broncos, like you look at times this year that the Jets have squandered games, and you just get to the point now where the way the season is going to end, they're going to be losing 5 straight, likely. This team, I just don't see them being a great schematic fit. I'm curious who they'll hire as the DC. I think that will be a very important hire, but you know, when we're grasping at these straws right now, it's just where have the Jets gotten better this year? And I'll say this. I feel like the Jets are going to play Hendon Hooker at some point. I think there's a reason they signed him. I think if he doesn't start, at this point, I would also start Tyrod the last 2 weeks. I know people are going to say, oh, Nolan, we can't because of the tank. You know what? Can we not just get absolutely embarrassed? Like, this is the thing that is why I think so many fans are frustrated with this regime. It's because this fan base has been through the absolute ringer, especially the last 2 seasons. And when you have a head coach that basically tells you, you know, we're going to show you change. We're going to give you a team to be proud of. We're going to coach these guys up. And at the end of the day, we see a team that, let's be frank, has regressed and hasn't looked good. Like I did this game last week. I said, of the guys on this defense, who's guaranteed to come back outside Dewan Briggs, Harrison Phillips, Brownlee next year, A.Z. Thomas, who they drafted. And again, it's not fun. You don't have Mason Taylor out there. You don't have A.Z. Thomas out there. Arian Smith is now basically a gunner on special teams. There's none of these rookies or young pieces that you're excited to watch. And you look across the field today, and I just look at Kellen Moore, and I look at that hire with New Orleans. At the very least, with Kellen Moore and Liam Cohen in Jacksonville, you knew one thing. Their offensive play calling for those teams would be so much better. And, you know, Wilkes has been fired. And again, the Jets created turnover on the first drive. Again, Malachi Moore, nice punch out. But, yeah, was the defense in this game more? Sure. But I'm just looking at the pieces on this defense, and I'm deadly serious. Is Jermaine Johnson on this team next year? Is Will McDonald on this team next year? I don't know. And this Jet team and this staff, if they think they have a clear runway to 2027, I will advise them this. If you have another disaster of a season, there's a lot to say about Woody Johnson, but he does listen to the fan base. And if this season goes off the rails again next year, if we're doing mock drafts in October, if we're talking about quarterbacks in October, I guarantee you they're going to move off of Aaron Glenn because they're going to have 3 first-round picks. They're going to be a high pick in an incredibly talented quarterback class, and then that will likely be the most attractive the Jets' job will have been in a long time. And look, I know there's going to be Aaron Glenn defenders. And for people that want him gone, he's going to be back. Again, I said at the trade deadline, he wasn't going anywhere. If they had any inkling that he was going to be a one-and-done coach, they would not have been allowed to make those trades. But this is now going to be very big. And again, you can talk about the you can talk about like, oh, the effort was there. The effort was there. But guess what? This is an ugly, ugly looking football game. And this is not exactly a team that's a good team. This is a team that is in the bottom 8 of the National Football League right now. Like, this should be your measuring stick. But unfortunately, we sit here today, and yes, the Jets move up into the 4th pick of the draft with Tennessee's wins. Yes, you're looking at Cleveland, Las Vegas, and the Giants in front of the Jets. We'll be watching tomorrow night with the Colts pick. But this was just ugly. I just don't know what to say. And there's certain players I'm watching out there today. I can say this almost certainty. I don't think Quincy's going to be back. I don't think that, again, it's guaranteed that John Simpson is back. Again, another dumb penalty. And I saw a lot of the temperature on social media. My thoughts with the guard position, I'd rather give AVT a 1-year deal, prove it, and draft a guard. Because the thing with John Simpson's this. He's a solid guard, but he has way too many penalties. And the way I look at this contract, it kind of reminds me of the DJ Reed contract, which is this. And again, it's a different regime. But you got the more than what you would expect from that contract. You got more of the player and the value than I think you thought the contract would be worth. How often does that happen a second time? And especially now with the player getting older. And look, he's starting to have the back issues, which again limit him at times this year. And when you say back issues with offensive linemen, I'd rather get out a year early than a year late. But look, it was just ugly. And this just was one of those things where I'm just looking at this team. You know, they're 3-12. Like, if you were to tell me this team would be 3-12 at this point at the beginning of the year, I wouldn't believe it. But once again, no interceptions in this game. You know, the Jets used to be a good running team, but this is a team that, again, they're daring Brady Cook to throw the football, and he can't. If I just look at this team, I would start Tyrod Taylor. And look, if Tyrod Taylor isn't healthy, then he should be on the IR. Play Hendon Hooker. At least Hendon Hooker was a 3rd-round draft pick. At least Hendon Hooker, I could see competing for the backup spot. Like, Brady Cook is what he is. He's an undrafted quarterback. And you saw it today. He looked lost. He looked rattled. And look, the Jets defense got a boost for a half. They looked good in the first half. But that dam broke in the second half. They need so many pieces on linebacker, edge in that back room. You know, at this point, I think Cook is what he is. He's a preseason camp arm. You know, taking way too many sacks. They couldn't get rid of the football. It's just frustrating. And look, I get that they are trotting out practice squad preseason guys in a lot of spots at this point, but this is bad. I mean, you're losing to the Dolphins and the Saints by over 20 points. Like, that is a horrible look for this staff. Because, you know, I look around the NFL today and I look at the Saints. Yeah, the Saints have their issues, but they at least compete. Like, you just get to the point now, you shake your head at some of these losses. Like, you know, the Dolphins today, the Dolphins got dog walked by the Bengals at home. Joe Burrow basically lit them up like one of his stogies and smoked them. And, they have Quinn Ewers starting. They weren't competitive in that game. The Dolphins in a lot of games aren't competitive. They have 6 wins. Guess what? 2 of them have been over the Jets. You know, like, I look around at even Tennessee. Tennessee looked like the worst team in the NFL a couple weeks ago. Now with Cam Ward, and I understand it was a Chiefs team without Mahomes, but the Titans are playing a lot better. Like, when I look at the Browns played the Bills to 3 points today. Like, it feels like even these bad teams are not miles away from their competition. It feels like the Jets are like, and I hate saying this, but it feels like they're in a class with the Raiders right now. Like, it just looks like there is such a difference. And you want to blame the talent. Well, guess what? This coaching staff, this front office, they had the chance to bring in pieces. They had the chance to really get rid of a lot of players on this roster. Guess what? This team could have gone into camp without Michael Clemens being the number 3 defensive end. They made that decision. It has cost them. They made the decision to come into this camp with Jamie Sherwood as their linebacker and not moving off of Quincy Williams or trading him at the deadline or trading him in the offseason for a piece. They came in with Tony Adams being a safety on this team. They came in with all these question marks. And basically, outside of a couple guys that they've brought in and have sparked a little bit, they just were terrible. Aaron Glenn was asked about Brady Quick starting because he gives the Jets the best chance to win. I think it's a little bit of both. I think he gives us the best chance to win, but we also want to evaluate where he's at. I'll tell you where he's at. He's a camp arm. I'll make that. And this is the thing that I think is what's driving Jet fans nuts. When I'm a guy, and again, I am a huge football fan. I follow football. I study football. I watch film. But when it feels like the fan base is seeing things that you are not, that to me is very troubling. And look, Brady Cook was not good today. And you can say you're trying to evaluate him. My evaluation is what he's been. He's an undrafted free agent. And the second he looks overwhelmed, he took 8 sacks today. You want to evaluate this team, Aaron Glenn? Put Tyrod Taylor back in. Can I get some actual pass reps to Adonai Mitchell? Can I get some reps to John Mechie? Can I get some reps to Stone Smart to see if they have anything of upside for next year? And even Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker's been at least in this league for a couple of years. He's been in your Lions meeting rooms. He's been around the NFL at least. I look at Brady Cook and I can't fault Brady Cook. He's a rookie undrafted free agent being thrown into the fire and basically being asked, hey, can you run this offense? Hey, can you read the defense? And if the Jets' hope is a rookie quarterback, and this is what's starting to scare me, because the Jets have already done this twice now with Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold. If they do not have a plan to effectively develop the quarterback, we're just going to keep repeating the cycle. Because, yes, the offensive line's good, but do I think that Tanner Engstrom is a perfect play caller? No. Do I trust Aaron Glenn to develop a quarterback? No, he's a defensive coach. And he's a defensive coach where the defense is absolutely horrendous. One of the things I felt coming into this season, I think many Jet fans thought at the very minimum, this defensive back room would get better because you have a former first-round all-pro corner that's going to sit and develop with them. And they don't have an interception. The Jets are making the wrong type of history, and history that is so GD frustrating. And again, I've gone on for a long the front of the line, but man, this is bad. I mean, it's bad. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our latest content. Again, thank you, Christian, for the support. As always, again, like and subscribe. And if you want to listen to us on the go, you can check us out where podcasts are available and on any social media using the handle @RichSportsTalk. It's bad. Glenn has done nothing to earn our trust. Expecting him to trust him to a rookie quarterback is insane. And look, I agree with Marcus Dupree. Brady Cook is a fourth stringer. The Jets, to me, again, maybe they are trying to tank because you bring in Hendon Hooker. Okay, maybe it's a little tough for 1 week, but I'd rather see what he has because I pretty much know what I got with Brady Cook. I pretty much know what it is. And you know what? It is not good. And, and of course, the Chiefs now, it seems Gardner Minshew has torn his ACL, so back-to-back ACL tears for the Chiefs. So that is unbelievable. It is so frustrating. Look, Tampa Bay also not doing well. If Todd Bowles get fired, I don't think he'd come to the Jets. I actually think he'd retire because, again, he's been in the game a long time. But this is just just watching today was so frustrating, what's the one positive we take out of today? It's the draft position. That's it. That's it. And you set a new NFL record with 15 straight games without an interception. This is just embarrassing. It's embarrassing. The Saints should not be 23 points better than you. And they were I think most of us are the Jets are going to lose this game, but they'll be close. It'll be 23-20, maybe 27-20. 20 or at least within a touchdown or two possession. It wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. And I get the Jet fans that are being loud about one and done Aaron Glenn. And look, I just don't think Aaron Glenn's going to be a one and done head coach as much as some people want. But I will say this. I don't think he's going to come in on a hot seat, but he's going to be under a watchful eye next year. Because if this team is not legitimately better, because the optics around this team have been horrible. No one's going to the stadium. No one's showing up to games. And I understand that ticket revenue isn't a big thing for these owners, but Woody Johnson's embarrassed. Woody Johnson, like, if the fans don't show up, and once again, this team is 1-5, 1-6, I don't think Aaron Glenn gets a third year. Because I guarantee you they're going to advise him that basically, you're going to have a chance to maybe draft a quarterback or get great pieces, or you have a young quarterback that a good offensive coach wants to take. But once again, this is why I was concerned about Aaron Glenn. I did not want a first-time head coach, especially a defensive coordinator, to be learning on the job. Because this is a job where you need someone that knows how to do the job and knows how to turn around the franchise. That's why I was screaming for Brian Flores. I was screaming for trying to get Mike McCarthy here. I was screaming for anyone that had been a previous head coach. And look, I want Aaron Glenn to work. I want to believe in Aaron Glenn. But until I see a massive difference, like the silver lining for Glenn, what's it been? Well, the Jets won 3 games after the trade deadline. That's great. They won against backup quarterbacks and bad coaches. Like, you see this team once again, when this defense goes against a competent or an above competent offensive minded offense, McDaniel and now Kellen Moore, they just picked this defense apart. They just moved it. Like, it shouldn't be this easy against this defense, but it is. And that's what's really concerning to me with Aaron Glenn, is this defense has gotten worse. Robert Saleh was not a good head coach, but we're seeing it once again in San Francisco. The guy knows defense. The guy knows how to develop defensive players. Aaron Glenn, like, I'm sitting here today, and I started the show with this. What defensive player on the staff looks better this year? And I don't have an answer. None of this matters because after next season, we'll be looking for our next first-time head coach who's a DC. Yeah, I'm done with that. Well, you coached amazing, Aaron Glenn. Well, go get your coach, the amazing. It's from Jose Portillo. You said before, better leave a year early than a year late. I'm thinking we should do the same. Here's the biggest problem with this, Kevin. I brought this up on my last episode about Glenn coming back as a head coach. I just think the optics would be horrendous. Because number one, again, if the Jets had the number 1 overall pick, which I doubt they're going to get, that would be one thing. But if you're a head coach, a prospective head coach, how's it going to look that the Jets, let's be honest, they're going to fire another head coach within 16 months? Because don't forget, Robert Saleh got fired in October last year. So the Jets are going to fire 2 head coaches in the span of, less than 2 seasons? And not only that, they're going to fire a longtime former player who wanted to come back and coach the team and someone that wanted to come in. Like, that to me is just optically terrible. I just don't see it happening after 1 year. But year 2, it's like, okay, year 1, you guys were bad. But if there's not significant progress, I'm not saying playoff mandate, but if we're here Thanksgiving next year, and we're not talking about the Jets being in the hunt, you have to make serious changes. Because asking this fan base to wait and trust the process, you don't have any trust or equity for us to believe in this process. We've trusted you with previous head coaches. We trusted you with previous hires, and hires that many of us from the beginning did not like. I couldn't find a Jet fan who was on board with the Adam Gase hire. Many Jet fans are kind of mixed on Robert Saleh. And the thing we keep doing this too, and again, I understand that the product is terrible right now. But if you fire Aaron Glenn, it's going to be a lot harder to find a head coach. And this is also a year 2 where the draft we don't know how many quarterbacks are going to be in this draft. Let's be honest. So it's just bad. It's bad. And I said basically, unless the Jets went like 1-16 or 2-15, again, 3-14 is not going to feel that much of a difference, but he's going to be back. And look, I agree. I get the frustration about Aaron Glenn. The team produces, fire everyone. Optics cannot get any worse. To the team, the problem. Yeah, but the hard part is, who are you hiring? Like, who's going to want to take, like, I want like a Mike McCarthy or Brian Flores, but are they really going to take the job? They're going to be like, wow, they got rid of a former player and someone that was great with that, a great player for that organization in 1 year. Again, I don't think he is and again, with Aaron Glenn, and I can sense the frustration, and I get it. I understand the fury. I understand how much that this is painful for Jet fans. But I don't think there is a world where Aaron Glenn is enough. Again, maybe Woody Johnson will surprise us. The Jets have done a lot of things over in our lifetime that we have seen that basically, that basically have done anything. And look, it's not a good look when you have, this team that, again, this is a team in New Orleans. They're not a good football team. They're not a good football team, man. Like, it is just so freaking frustrating. Like, I just was so disappointed with this team. And I just sit there and I go, like, and I feel bad for the Jet fans that flew to New Orleans. Like, they felt this could be one of the games the Jets could be competitive in. And the Jets now have not intercepted a pass since last season's finale with Ashton Davis. And guess what? Ashton Davis had 2 interceptions. The Jets now 461 consecutive pass attempts and no picks. And they got their, this is a bad team in New Orleans. I'm sorry, but like, when I look at, and this is the other thing why I think so many Jet fans are absolutely fuming. Like, every other rookie head coach, you can at least tie something to them. Like, you can see something positive. And again, this isn't just bad. They're getting their teeth kicked in. They've lost 3 straight games by over 14 points. This is their longest streak since 2019. And that roster was so barren. It was basically an expansion roster. And I'm sorry, but Aaron Glenn just comes off as he doesn't get it at times. When you have Tyrod Taylor, who, again, is a veteran quarterback, who is someone that has shown the offense at its best this season, and any Jet fan can see it. And I understand you're trying to evaluate Brady Cook, but I'm sorry, but if this game was close, why don't you put Tyrod Taylor in? Because you know what you need to also see is John Mechie, who you just traded for, Adon Mitchell, who you traded for, Stone Smart, are you keeping him for another year? I mean, there's other people on this team that the quarterback helps you to develop. And if you're not seeing that, and this is the other troubling thing too, where I'm terrified of a rookie quarterback. Aaron Glenn just doesn't have a sense of when to make the move. We talked about in the Denver game. We talked about in the Panther game. We talked about when to get Justin Fields out of there, where he clearly didn't have it. And you see Brady Cook today looking overwhelmed, holding onto the football. It was very reminiscent of the problems Justin Fields had earlier this year, and he's basically keeping him out there. And I know this is a lost season. I know the Jets aren't going anywhere. But could you give this fan base, could you give this fans who are watching this slop, who paid money to go to New Orleans, and my God, Jet fans, if you're in New Orleans tonight, please treat yourself to bourbon on Bourbon Street. Just do it. You freaking deserve it. But it was just, I mean, Brady Cook attempted 1 pass longer than 9 yards. You can't function that way. Last time I checked, guys, guess what? A first down's 10 yards. He's not going to attempt the pass longer than it would be for a first down. So you're saying you feel like Brady Cook gives you the best chance to win. He won't throw the ball more than 9 yards. And this is why I think Jet fans are so petrified of this staff, because if they don't see these issues while we clearly do, that to me is troubling. And if the reason Tyrod Taylor, and I've speculated this with the Denver game, that they don't want to put Tyrod out there because they're A, afraid he's going to get hurt, or B, he's actually hurt and they don't want to put him out there. Guess what? Put Hendon Hooker in there. Have him be the backup. If Tyrod can't go or you're afraid he's going to get injured, I'm sorry. This is football. This is the National Football League. You put him out there. You paid him a lot of money to be this team's backup quarterback. You made the decision to keep him here. You've also made the decision not to have any competition in camp. You just anointed Justin Fields is our starter. Justin Fields was the starter all throughout training camp, all throughout the preseason, and basically outside of one brief glimmer of hope in the Pittsburgh game, he was absolutely horrendous. So you're asking this fan base to trust this staff. And again, I like Darren Muji better than I like Aaron Glenn, which is the ironic part. But you look at them evaluating quarterback talent. And the fact that this organization didn't draft the kid in the third round to at least compete or at least have a backup plan in case Justin Fields didn't work, because guess what? Justin Fields throughout his NFL career hasn't worked. And I just look at this team and it is just, it's just so painful to see this. It is just so frustrating to see this. Like, you look back, this to me too is one thing why this hire of this really to me is frustrating, because you saw it in last year's coaching cycle. The guys who are innovative coaches, the guys who are good play callers, the guys that are creative, they're doing incredibly well. You look at Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn, from all accounts, doesn't seem to be this defensive master guru of like creating super elaborate schemes. And if the reason they're secretly doing this, they're trying to, quote, evaluate Brady Cook while also getting better draft position. Well, if it looks as bad as it does this year, I'm sorry, but this is just like, you just look around this league, like Malik Willis comes off the couch and basically is throwing dots for the Packers. It is just so infuriating to see this team. And look, it basically is a glorified preseason game, this game today. But I just look at this team, and yeah, Chris Harris was a nice injection for a half, but if this is how they looked against the Saints, how are they going to look against two MVP candidates in Josh Allen and Drake May, who, again, are playing for something? Like, this to me was just, bad. And look, they're loading up the box. You're not getting Brees. You're not getting the running game going. It is just so frustrating. And it's damning that this coach, especially a former defensive back, his staff in this defense hasn't even had the chance to get an interception. They don't have an interception on the season. Again, super chat to jump to the front of the line. Comment below, being like, we know an inept head coach when we see one. We develop the radar for that. Yeah, Payne does evaluate that. Evaluation of these mediocre plays is useless anyway. Our coaches are worse than they are. We're repeating history with hiring another rookie GM and head coach. Odds are that formula doesn't work. And it's not only that. I didn't mind a rookie head coach. I wanted an offensive coach because I knew this team was going to have to develop a quarterback. We all knew it. Like, a defensive coach with Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh kind of made sense. But we've seen defensive coaches try to develop the quarterback. Rex Ryan, how'd he do developing Mark Sanchez and Geno Smith? We saw it with Todd Bowles and Adam Gase. How'd they do with Sam Darnold? And Adam Gase, like, don't even get me started on that one. And then we saw it with Robert Saleh trying to develop Zach Wilson. Like, I do think you need to go to Hendon Hooker, because at least I know he's been around NFL camps. He's been in the NFL for a couple of years, and he understands this system. Like, the only exception to me this offseason, and this was the reason I kept pounding this desk, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, and I know that there was other issues with this hire, but I would have hired Brian Flores because, yes, he's a former DC, but he is a coach that, if you remember, one of the reasons he got fired was because he was adamant he wanted Justin Herbert over Tua, and that cost him his job. How's that looking in retrospect? He at least seems to have an eye for talent. And the other thing, too, and this is the biggest reason I wanted him. Yes, he's a DC, but I want someone with a little extra juice. You don't think he'd be fired up against Miami? You don't think he'd do everything to win those Miami games and whip their you-know-whats because of how they handled him, how they embarrassed him? Like, this was so frustrating. And look, I understand that we wanted Mike Vrabel, and what the Patriots did, again, just drives us nuts. But I wanted a head coach or someone offensive-minded. Like, again, do I think Liam Cohen would have gone over, especially with how his first press conference went? The Jaguars, again, we all laughed at him. Look at the Jaguars. They're one of the best teams in football right now, or playing like one. I just look around this league, like you look at the rookie head coaches, and they're doing really good. Like, you don't really have questions. Like, even Brian Schottenheimer, we were all killing like that hire. The Cowboys offense has been number one in the NFL. Like, I'll give Brian Schottenheimer this. We all laughed at that hire, but you feel a lot better about the Dallas offense. Kellen Moore, New Orleans offense looks good. Like, Liam Cohen, they're one of the better teams in the AFC. Ben Johnson, they're going to be an 11 to 12 win team this year. Mike Vrabel's got the Patriots looking like one of the best football teams. Like, let me look. Ben Johnson, team going to the playoffs. Mike Vrabel, team going to the playoffs. Liam Cohen, team going to the playoffs. Brian Schottenheimer, competitive, but offense looks great. Kellen Moore, offense, young quarterback, looks great. And then Aaron Glenn. Like, it is just so frustrating seeing all these head coachings. Like, at least you see a vision. Even with Kellen Moore and Schottenheimer, you at least see something there, or something you can hang your hat on. But I look at Aaron Glenn, like, what does he do well? What makes this defense doesn't look good, and even and even Mike McDaniel, like, I mean, for all the problems he has, like, he looks like he's going to stay. Like, I just look at this team, and it is so GD frustrating because all the time I'm just looking at saying, what defensive player's gotten better? Will McDonald has regressed. Jermaine Johnson has regressed. Quincy Williams has regressed. Like, every player on this defense has regressed. And you can't just say, well, it's the system. Great coaches figure out how to make it work. Great coaches can plug and play players. Like, you look at Jacksonville. They traded for Jacoby Myers. Now they're extending him because of how well he fits and how well they incorporated him into their offense. Like, the Jets, like, what do they do well? And this is why I think this fan base is at such a low point and so depressed right now, because Aaron Glenn, like, and again, if they had said at the beginning of the year, look, we think this roster needs a lot of work. This is going to take a lot of time. This is going to take, I think Jet fans would be like, you know what? We kind of understand. We went all in with Aaron Rodgers. It didn't work. Fine. But when you stood up there at the beginning of the season and all offseason and said, we're going to give you a team we're going to be proud of, we're going to be competitive, we're going to develop guys. And guess what? The last coaching staff were not good coaches. We're going to coach these guys up. Well, man, you look like you have egg all over your face right now through year one. Because not only have these players not improved, they've regressed. And you can't just – and also all of a sudden the goalposts were moved. Well, we didn't have enough talent. We didn't have enough talent. Well, guess what? You told us all offseason you had enough talent. You also told us that you felt confident in Justin Fields. You didn't even have a competition for Justin Fields. You didn't even push Tyrod Taylor. You didn't look at this roster and say, you know what? Maybe we should also sign Mac Jones to compete. Maybe we could bring in Mac Jones instead of Justin Fields. We should bring in another backup. You know who would have been perfect for this team? Who would have been a great bridge in the next year, who would have probably made this team at least more watchable and given us a better valuation? Jameis Winston. You could have had him. Could have had him for 2 years, but guess what you didn't? And you try to justify this. You look at this right now. Again, Super Chat jumped in front of the line. I'm just going to basically read some of your questions just to stop my rant a little bit. Yeah, I think Hooker's going to play at some point. I think you either got to go to Tyrod again or Hooker because Brady Cook doesn't have it. He's a camp arm. And again, you're right, Mr. Brewer. You can't justify a loss to the Saints. Saints are a bad football team. I know some fans are going to be jubilant because of the draft position, but I don't know if I trust this staff. I don't know if I trust them with a quarterback. And do we trust them if, let's play this game. The staff cannot make an excuse to not have a quarterback next year because as much as this pains me, there is a world where the Vegas gets the number 1 pick and they're taking Mendoza. Dante Moore, who's looked incredible, decides, you know what, I'm going back to Oregon for another year. And then the Jets, it's like, who do you take a quarterback? Who do you take? Even if, let's say the Giants or, again, Tennessee hurt the Jets because you were hoping that you could trade with them. But there's a world the Giants, I even said this, what the Giants finish with the worst record and the new head coach wants Mendoza. There's a world where that happens because Jackson Dart, again, wasn't good today. He was 1 of 5 with a pick to start the first half today. He was not good. There's a world where the Jets don't have a chance to get a quarterback because this is a thin class. And this coaching staff can't have the gall to say, you know what, Jet fans, we got all those picks in 2027. Give us another year. We got to go through the growing pains. We got to figure you got to find a solution at quarterback. I don't care if it's a day 3 pick to compete. I don't care if you have to trade for a veteran. I don't care what it is. If you cannot do this to this fan base. You cannot put them through another embarrassing season like this. You have money, you have draft capital, build a better roster, and find a quarterback that can at least make you competitive. Because the quarterbacks you've picked this year have not made you competitive. You, again, like I said, you made the decision this offseason that you didn't want Aaron Rodgers because of all the noise and all the headaches and all of that. Fine. You then made the decision to pass on Jameis Winston in free agency and go all in on Justin Fields. You made the decision, despite injury history and his age, to have Tyrod Taylor be your backup. You could have moved off of him. You could have signed someone else. You did it. That was your decision. You could have drafted someone, like I said, day 3 of the draft instead of, Tyler Barron, who's been a great pick that you traded up for, to at least give us something to look for, to at least give us something and show that you can work with a young quarterback. Because, again, those guys, at least there's a reason they were drafted. You look right now, there's a reason why Brady Cook was undrafted. You're seeing it right now. He looks completely overwhelmed. And it is just so frustrating because I was hoping to be like, yes, our tankathon didn't improve. They're not going to get let's be honest. We're going to come to the end of the season, Ralph Mouth. They're going to be at the end of the season. Guess what? And again, I know the offense didn't help. Super Chat jumped to the front of the line. I'm just, I am just so frustrated. And again, it's not a great look when you said, you know what, we were thinking about Tyler Shuck and didn't draft him. And again, Jets, in case if you want to know about the Tankathon, they're number 4. Raiders, I think, are playing now. But again, Giants will play the Raiders next week. Cleveland looked like they had a chance to win today. They ended up losing again. I think I went over the schedule on Friday. I think Cleveland has another kind of – I think they play – no, they already played Vegas. I think they have another kind of layup game in there as well. Other teams with 3 wins. Arizona hasn't played yet. But again, Jets strike the schedule. And Tennessee, Jets jumped up 2 spots. And look, the big one to me is also going to be the Colts pick. I don't think the Colts are winning another game. I'm just being frank. But, this is – again, it's frustrating because what is the hope of this team? It's frustrating because today was a good day. A perfect world would have been this. I would have come on here. The best thing for Jet fans would have probably been this because, again, I know a win would have pissed off a lot of people. I would have liked to win, but hey, I get where fans are coming from. A perfect day today would have been the Jets lose this game, let's say 29-24, but they get that nasty streak of no interceptions, off the field. They get that dopey record out of the way. And, this is frustrating. Is so frustrating right now where you just look at this team and, yeah, what are you looking for? Guys next year are going to be on this team. Jawan Briggs, yeah, that was a nice thing to see. Yeah, Malachi Moore making some plays in the secondary. Quantas Stiggers with some good coverages today. Like, okay, that's nice, but overall, it is just it's just a bunch of slop. Like this was a game. Like I really feel like there's a lot of Jet fans that went to this game not only to go to New Orleans, but they wanted to go because this was a game where I think you felt like this team could have competed. They could have competed. And instead, you look at this and you just go, like, they're not even close. Like, you feel like if they come out with this effort against the Bills and the Patriots, they're going to put up 50. They're going to put up 50. It is just so frustrating with this team. And again, the Jet fans deserve so much better because the time and effort we put into this team just to get nothing out of it, especially this year. Like, again, I knew this year wasn't going to be great, but it's like, holy, like our expectations were low, but damn. I mean, guys, Jamie and Sherwood played better, had the great 4th and 1 stop, had a sack in there today. Jawan Briggs had another sack as well. Will McDonald was able to get a sack on the stat sheet, I guess. But, I just look at this team. They didn't even get 200 yards. This is not a good Saints defense. 200 yards. 3.1 yards per play. They were 2 of 15 on 3rd down. They only had 12 first downs in this game. They allowed 8 sacks. I think a lot more of it was on Brady Cook than the O-line. 7 penalties for 54 yards, including Simpson with the dumb one. And my thoughts are this. Like, I'm going to, in the next couple weeks, go about players coming back. I don't think Simpson's coming back. I'd rather give AVT a 1-year deal. He's younger. He's got more upside. Draft a guard late day 3 as a backup. Like John Simpson, the other thing, too, is I think for the contract, he's played well. I just don't see him, especially with the back issue he's had. I just don't see him repeating that success of this contract. But look, this team needs a lot of work. So, Mr. Brew, who gets in Woody's year that the Jets need to make the coaching change is the question. Is it Rick Spielman? It might be Rick Spielman. It might be Jaime as well. But look, I really, and I keep saying this, and I understand people are not going to. And again, I do think the defense showed better flashes today. But again, this is also a bad team. Woody is not going to make the decision. Again, I won't rule anything, but here's my thought. You fired Robert Saleh during the season last year. If you fire another head coach in year 1 of his plan, which looks like a rebuild, I think many coaches or prospective coaches are going to say, I'm not touching the Jets. It's hard enough to get someone to want to come to the Jets, but you're going to do that to a former player and a former great player of yours. I just think the optics would be bad. Next year, it's different. If the Jets, after 2 off seasons, after gutting this out, and after getting the players that they, quote, wanted, if this defense is once again a bottom of the NFL team, if the talent isn't good, then I could see the change happening then. 15 years, 8 wins is still competing in December, has to be a bare minimum expectation. I said they have to be in the playoff hunt by Thanksgiving next year. We cannot be in October talking about quarterbacks again. We can't be in October talking about selling off pieces at the trade deadline. We can't. And again, you're going to go another season without winning an AFC East game. You want to make the playoffs, you're going to have to, the bare minimum, go 2-4 in your division. You should be going 3-3, but you look at the Patriots and Bills, you need to kind of sweep the Dolphins, and they don't look close. Like, that's the thing. Like, the Jets feel like they are a different stratosphere away from being competitive. And that's what's so frustrating. That's why it is so mind-numbing and how bad it is right now. And, I know a lot of it is they don't have a good quarterback. I understand the quarterback situation isn't good. But this was pathetic. They didn't have a touchdown today against a horrendous defense. They scored 6 points. That was it. 2 field goals. They basically, they can't move the football at all. There's no creativity, And the fact that this coach didn't even consider going to Tyrod Taylor It's just damning. It's just so frustrating. And look, when this team got down 10 points, you felt this game was over. Like, let's be fair. I guarantee a lot of you turned off your TVs at that point. So, yeah, this game's over. And look, especially these guys, too, they need to put better tape out there. They need to put better tape out there. Again, the defense showed some signs early, but again, Will McDonald had a better second half, but this season has been largely disappointing for him. You look at Jermaine has been very disappointing as well. And look, the big thing for the Jets, I think the Jets are going to finish with the top 3 pick. The big thing the Jets need is something out of their control. They need Dante Moore to declare. They need, so at least there's 2 options. Because if there's only one QB option, this team could be stuck. And I hate to say that. But this was a rough watch. Like, this was just so frustrating to try to just stomach. Like, it just felt gross watching this game. You just sit there and you were watching and you're going, what are the Jets doing well? Like, what is giving me hope outside of, okay, Jamie Sherwood's playing better without Wilkes? But this is the thing that concerns me. And again, I know Aaron Glenn, quote, wants to be the CEO type. But when your side of the football is that bad, it is concerning. When you are a defensive coach and your team sets an NFL record 15 games without an interception, 15 consecutive games, and you have a chance to do something no team's ever done, go a full season without getting an interception, that's embarrassing. And you're a defensive back. You were a former cornerback. And I understand injuries. I understand that this roster isn't great. But the fact that you haven't been able to do that is incredibly alarming. Like, I will be hard-pressed to find a Jet fan out there who believes that Aaron Glenn should be there. I mean, we were talking weeks ago, he should be one-and-done coach. But again, I think optically, I don't think it's going to happen. And look, maybe that was part of the reason. I can't prove it, but it's frustrating. Like, they need to have a plan. It's just frustrating. Again, the hard part, too, is when you look at coaches. Like, the Jets, we've seen bad coaches. Yeah, I don't know who would be available, Kev, though. That's the problem. Like, we've seen bad coaching. We know what bad football looks like. And once again, we're seeing absolutely horrendous football. Like, it's non-competitive. It's gross. It looks terrible. It's not competitive. Like, I just look at this team and I just go, what do they do well? And what is giving me hope for next season? Because right now, there is not a lot, if any. And I get it, the frustration. And look, I just don't think Aaron Glenn's going to be a one-and-done head coach. But, it's not a good look, especially when they talked about how much better coach this team would be. Well, guess what? Penalties are still bad. The defense has regressed. Okay, they've hired a good special teams. Great. Okay, they've hired an okay play caller. But outside of that, what do the Jets do well? And again, Aaron Glenn, like, it's easy to blame Wilkes. Oh, it was Wilkes' defense. We're going to run Wilkes' scheme. Why didn't you hire a guy then to hire your own scheme? Why did you allow Wilkes to be on this team? If you felt this defense wasn't going the right way, you have a responsibility to take over the play calling. It feels like Aaron Glenn is very good deflecting. He's got to take that thumb and point it at him. Because the Jets right now are just, they're embarrassing. I mean, you said you want a team to be proud of. They're embarrassing. Like, the expectations for this team next year are going to be absolutely low. And look, we'll talk ourselves into the draft. We'll talk a lot of draft on this channel, of course. We will all make sure to go out there and make sure to do great draft content, talk about players that are going to be good pieces, how they're going to do this roster. There's going to be a lot of talk this offseason. And again, that's another reason to like and subscribe to the show. But you're going to go into next season not trusting this coach. And it's going to take a lot to really turn the perception of this franchise and this coach around. And when I look at this team right now, too, like right now, Jet fans, especially after today, like, again, I'll watch because I need to provide this content for you guys. What Jet fans going to subject themselves to watching the Patriot game, watching the Bills game, just get absolutely destroyed? I mean, right now, all of us wish we had that sim option like we do in Madden, just sim to the end of the season. And right now, if you're a Jet fan, you know what Jet fans are watching right now? And Woody Johnson to the Jets ownership, they're not watching you. They're watching other teams, hoping that the Jets will have a better draft pick. Ooh, some good questions in the chat, Kev. Would you trade for Purdy or CJ Stroud? Number one, I don't think CJ Stroud would be available. Purdy, I don't think would also be available. I think if any, Mac Jones would. And again, it depends on the package. If I could get, you have to give up 2 day 3 picks, I would go after Mac Jones. Like that to me would be the more likely option. Side note, yeah, I don't get what the Mets are doing, Kev. I, again, will judge it when the offseason's over. But Murakami, to me, especially going to the White Sox, I don't know why, even with that money, wouldn't you go to other teams? Murakami, again, I think the worry is the defense with him. Again, I'm talking about the defense. But look, the Mets offseason, it's been frustrating. And look, I think Steve Cohen going to Twitter the other day was not a smart decision. Like, I think Steve Cohen, again, I appreciate what he's done for the Mets organization, but basically, I think Steve Cohen should have basically gone to Twitter and, thanked Edwin Diaz and especially Pete Alonso for their longtime contributions to the team and how they were great members of the clubhouse and wishing them the best of luck. But no, that's calling out about payroll. So I again, we'll talk more about the Mets this offseason. I think it's a bigger picture. Again, I think they've done a nice job bolstering the bullpen outside of Diaz. I like the Nimmo move because, again, I think let's be honest, Nimmo is a regressing player, especially in the field. I just don't think he'd be a good – and again, the Mets have already they're paying a ton of money to Juan Soto, who's a big bat in that outfield, who's a below-average defender. I don't think you can have 2 on that team. I like that comment, Kev. I don't think I could put that on the channel. I don't want to get demonetized. But again, good chat from Kev. Again, Super Chat jumped to the front of the line. Trying to get some more quotes after this game, but it's. I mean, here's a weird thing about this game too. I'm surprised the NFL let this happen too. I just look at this too, and I just look at this team, and it's bad. And look, I think Connor Rogers, who again I think has a really good addition to the post game for SNY, because to me, Connor Rogers, again, is really great at the draft content, but what he provides to that show, he has a direct connection with the fan base. And again, Bart, and I think, Bart definitely has a connection to the fan. Willie has a connection, but I mean, Connor Rogers is a fan. And he said too, and this is a really good one, I think he put up this perfectly. You look out there week in and week out, there's nothing that this team does well. Coaching has been a disaster. I know he's not a one and done, but they need to figure it out. And look, I understand people are not confident in Aaron Glenn right now. But every week, and again, this is the biggest problem. If Aaron Glenn was an offensive coach and the defense schematically looked this way, it'd be one thing. But when schematically and fundamentally, the defense looks broken. And again, we came into this season with a defense that had Sauce Gardner, that had Quinnen Williams, who also looked like they regressed before they were traded. You look at this defense. You had Quincy Williams, who was a borderline Pro Bowl player, looks completely overwhelmed. You look at Jamie Sherwood. Look, he's an ascending player. He is taking a massive step back. Jermaine Johnson looks completely overdone. And I just listened to Glenn after the games, and I just keep hearing the wrong things. He talks about field position, penalties, effort, but the X's and O's, the Jets, what do they do well? Like, okay, effort's one thing, but they don't have a good tactics. They don't have anything with the league today that you just go, okay. You look at this team too. Like, I just look at the penalty. Like, again, Glenn's like blaming penalties, blaming this, blaming that. Like, Brady Cook's a great example. You know they're going to be stacking the box because they're going to try to take away your run game. You have to try to get him in rhythm, try to get him off some play actions, design easy layups to get him into a rhythm. And they don't do that. It just feels like they just run the ball up the middle, run the ball up the middle. Oh, now it's a 3rd and long. And now we're forcing our quarterback to face a blitzing defense. It is just so frustrating to see, like, the coaches, like, again, like with Adam Gase, and again, I keep comparing this to Adam Gase. It feels like the Jets every single week go in with a schematic disadvantage. You know, and I just look at this, you know, like the Jets defense, like Tyler Shuck is a rookie quarterback. He has warts. Like, this should be a game where the New York Jets are licking their chops because Bill Belichick, a great defensive coordinator, always ate rookie quarterbacks alive. Rex Ryan made rookie quarterbacks, and even Robert Saleh. Like, he made some of the best quarterbacks in this league look uncomfortable. Like, as much as Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich ultimately failed as head coaches, you at least felt that the Jets would have a competitive defense that could compete schematically every week and give teams problems. Tyler Shuck in this game went 32 of 49, 308 yards, and 1 touchdown with an 89 rating. Trevor Lawrence the week before had 5 touchdowns, including a rushing touchdown. Like, we're not talking about Josh Allen or Drake May, who they're going to be playing the next 2 weeks. Oh, joy. Even Tua, who just got benched for how bad he has been, looked good against the Jets. Like, I won't fully rule out a one-and-done year for Aaron Glenn because we've seen weirder things happen. But I'll tell you this, I don't think there's anyone confident, especially with this defense. Like, Aaron Glenn says he talks to Bill Parcells and all these other coaches and all these things in the offseason or during the season. Can you talk about schematic? Can you talk about making this defense look better? Like, to me, one of the biggest things, unfortunately, for the Jets is they have to hire the right defensive coordinator. Because it's clear to me that Aaron Glenn is not going to want to hand in this defense. So you need to hope that whether it's Harris, whether it's Jim Leonard, whoever they bring in, can scheme the defense. Because for whatever reason, Aaron Glenn doesn't seem to want to touch the defense. He doesn't seem like he wants to, you know, go out there and check that out. But I think they had 200 yards, but I don't think they had the 200 yards. The second half, the dam broke, Mr. Bruno. So I don't think it was that bad. But look, this defense, again, is horrendous. I mean, Tyler Shuck he's a rookie quarterback, and he's played well enough. But, I mean, you're letting Chris Olave cook this secondary for 148 yards and 2 touchdowns. Juwan Johnson, 89 yards. And Aaron Glenn, like, you can't blame the talent. Like, you had every opportunity to move off of Michael Clemens. You had all these opportunities. Like, I was screaming throughout training camp. Jadeveon Clowney is there. Azarius Smith, who was a former Lion, is there. Get someone on this team that can set the edge and help rush the passer. They're like, no, we don't need them. We don't need them. We're good. We're fine. We don't need them. We're good. We got Michael Clemens. And that's the other thing, which is disturbing. Like, you look at this team, they're like, we're going to coach these guys to be up to get great. And then halfway through the season, well, we tried coaching them up, but they're just not that good. So what is it? Is it that you weren't good at evaluating this roster, or was it that you weren't good developing this roster? You know, it's bad. And I just look at next season. Like, I think Aaron Glenn's going to be on the hot seat to start next season because I don't think the Jets will let him last 2 seasons. Because, again, you have to look around the league. Every other rookie coach, even like Kellen Moore, even the guys that aren't going to the playoffs this year, the teams, you feel good. If you're a Saint fan, you feel pretty good that you have the right coach. And even if Tyler Shuck isn't your long-term quarterback, you feel good that whoever Kellen Moore decides to make the starting quarterback, you feel pretty good they're going to be in a good place. Like, you look at every head coach. If I went to every fan base that had a rookie head coach and asked them, how do you feel about your coach going into next season? I think a lot of them, every single one would say, we feel amazing or we feel good. Ask the Bears. They're like, we got our guy. Ask the Patriots. We got our guy. Ask Jacksonville. We got our guy. Ask the Saints. We got our guy. Even the Cowboys. You know what? For all the grief Brian Schottenheimer got for the hire, they have the number one offense. You feel if you get the right defensive coordinator, Cowboys could be interesting. Aaron Glenn, you're like, you look at Jet fans, like it is just horrendous. And you look at the 2025 hiring cycle, like the Jets, like, again, you knew Ben Johnson wasn't coming. And again, I guess the only fan base that's worse, again, I keep forgetting this, is Pete Carroll, because with the Raiders. But that has been an abject disaster as well. But you look at this, and I know the excuses, well, they don't have the quarterback. Well, they can't score points. Well, they've been bad. Well, they traded their best players. Well, it's a rebuild year. But if I was at least saying, you know what, let's look at it this way. Let's say the offense looked the exact same way. They scored 6 points in this game. But let's say this. Let's say the Jets held the Saints to 17 points. They scored late to get the lead. But if we came out in this game with Aaron Glenn really having his hands on the defense for the first time, and this defense, held the Saints to under 250 yards, got their first interception, forced a couple turnovers, you know what? Made Tyler Shuck look under pressure. I think as a fan base, we would say, you know what? Yeah, it's been a rough year, but now that Glenn's got his hands on the defense, they look a lot better. And I understand that it's not going to be perfect, but you know what? We're seeing progress. But you step away from this game going, God, like, this defense isn't even close. This defense is so far behind. It just feels like we're not even close. We're not even close. And again, who are you keeping on this team? Breece Hall, you might transition tag. He might just say, I'm sick of this. I want to be gone. Like, Quincy's not coming back. Like, who on this defense is coming back? There's a world where Jermaine and Will are traded this offseason. Like, where are you improving this defense? Like, where are you getting these pieces? These are going to be big questions. And then we go to the draft. If you don't get the quarterback, what defensive players are you going to draft? Because, the thing that concerns me, and look, Muji's going to have his second draft. I think it's hard with your first draft. They redid the whole scouting department. But the returns on the defense, outside of Malachi Moore, looks like an intriguing piece. I mean, this team had to get Kiko from Miami. He's been the worst graded run defending linebacker in the league. And not only on top of that, we had to not only trade up in the 5th round, but we had to give up a future pick for our pass rushing specialist, Tyler Barron out of Miami. He's gonna be our third guy. He's gonna be the guy that helps bring pass rush. And yeah, how's he done this year? Oh, that's right. He's only played in 6 games. How many quarterback hits does he have this year, Tyler Barron? Come on, guys, let's play a fun game for you, those of you at home. How many QB hits does Tyler Barron have? I'll give you a hint. It's the same as you as me. 0. So it is just, and look, there's some things to hold on in this game. Yes, special teams was great. Sherwood had his best game. But you just walk away from this game going, we can't even compete with the Saints. We can't compete with the Saints. Like, outside of the Raiders, what situation is worse than the Jets right now? The Giants, maybe? There's not a lot. It's bad. And look, I know fans will be happy because they lost this game. Ultimately, it helps with the draft position. But the fact that this team, like, I haven't seen improvement. at all is terrifying. I mean, outside Jawan Briggs, like what players played better as a Jet? It doesn't feel like they're a better football team. It feels like they just keep regressing. So, look, I get if you're a fan that's happy with the loss, I understand. But you're just looking at this team and you're just like Aaron Glenn, like I just don't have confidence in him. And it's going to take a lot. Like it can't just be like, oh, they start off with a win or two next year. We need to get to midseason. Like, you know what? This team is in it every week. They're competing every week. They have a chance to make a playoff run or at least be in the hunt. Like, they just look horrendous. Again, it also doesn't look ideal. And look, I know they weren't going to draft him because of the off-the-field stuff, but it's not a good look when this team passes on Shadur Sanders on day 3 and they didn't have a backup plan. Like, that's the thing. It's one thing to pass on Shadur, but for this team to not have a legitimate backup plan for Justin Fields, who hasn't been successful in the National Football League to this point, is very alarming. To come into this season not having a better backup plan than Michael Clemens. And I know Rome wasn't built in a day, but you had options. We went throughout the training camp. I can't tell you how many times I had fans on here saying, why aren't they signing Jadeveon Clowney? Why aren't they signing this defensive end? Why aren't they at least working them out? And I said, you know what? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Because they're better upgrades the roster, fills a spot, makes them a better team. And you look at the touchdowns today. How many times was a guy wide open in the secondary? And I understand it's communication. I understand the deep backs aren't any good. But this team just is so freaking bad. And we talked about the Dolphins. The Dolphins just got walloped today, and the Jets don't look close to them. And Aaron Glenn in this press conference, we talked about 3 things with the team. 2 I won't mention, but I will talk about the effort. We don't care about the effort. We care about how your team is out-coached every week, how you don't seem to have a sense of the quarterback position. I mean, you talk about developing players. You know what would help your receivers, your tight ends develop? Having a quarterback like, I don't know, Tyrod Taylor. But, and Kev, I think you summed it up perfectly. You're happy for the loss, but you don't like how we got there. If this was a close game and the defense showed progress, I think you'd feel a lot better. But this was just you know what? And look, we'll talk a lot about the draft. We'll talk about the offseason. We'll talk about how to improve this roster. But right now, the biggest thing that we need to see improvement from this, we need to see this roster improve. We need to see the quarterback position obviously improve this offseason. But look, we got to see a big step up from this coaching staff. And look, it's year 1. You hope they learn from mistakes. You hope they build off of that in year 2. But I think this defensive coordinator hire is going to be huge, because it seems that Aaron Glenn's going to let that defensive coordinator do his thing. And if they hire the right one and get the right pieces, I think this defense can turn around very quickly. But once again, they got to pick the right guy, have to pick the right pieces. And right now, if you're looking at the big picture as a Jet fan, you don't trust the regime to do that. And all I can say is I don't blame you. And I'll do a poll. Kev, that's a good suggestion. I'll do a poll on the channel. Check out the community page on the channel. If you're joining us in the podcast, check us out on YouTube. Do you think Aaron Glenn's going to be one and done? I personally don't think it's going to happen. I know I think where a lot of you guys are going to go. But we'll be back this week. We'll have a lot more discussion. We'll be talking about the draft, of course, talking about free agency. And I'm thinking about doing a long-term video, which will also talk about the Jets draft history. Let me know if you want that as a live video or a pre-produced video in the comments below. But it wasn't easy in the Big Easy as the Jets get Cajun cooked by the New Orleans Saints in what was definitely an ugly game. The only silver lining, I guess, this draft position, but everything else, the roster, this coaching staff, you don't feel good about. We'll be back, of course, this week. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our latest videos. And, of course, to help us with the YouTube algorithm to get us out to more great Jet fans. If you want to take us on the go, we are available wherever podcasts are available. And, of course, check us out on social media using the handle at Rich Sports Talk. I'm your host, Owen Rich, and this has been Rich Sports Talk. We will see you next time.